Hi, everybody. This is Blaine, and we are back for another episode of Energy Works, which is, I guess, we're on the fourth of a 6-episode series on the 5 elements. We started with an introduction episode, and then we did the first element in our tradition, water, and then we did wood, and today's episode is about fire, which I'm not a fire primary or secondary personally, but I'm quite fascinated with fire and fire people. And I shared with Lauren, my co-host, who is here with me, that I have a lot of fire friends. And sometimes I say I attract a lot of fires. I attract a lot of fires into my life. But I think it may be the opposite, that I am attracted to a lot of fires. And there is a relationship between fire and metal, which I am. And so maybe we kind of need each other, but everybody needs everybody anyway. So I'm going to kick us off today talking about fire. And then, of course, Lauren will share her wisdom as well. She is the one who's written books on this subject. So I know that she will have a lot to say. So we've been discussing seasons as a metaphorical cycle for the elements, and they're a good one and easy to understand, but the elements are everything from the time you're born to the time you die, right? Baby is water, metal is death. At the end, it's the end of your life. So and then you have this teenage time, which is wood, and this young adult time, which is fire, and this older adult time, which is earth, and this older adult time, which is metal. And another cycle which holds this representation of the elements is the day. The early morning is water. Later in the morning is wood, and this peak daytime where the sun is at its highest point and there is the most light and warmth that you have in the day, that is fire time, which we're going to talk about today. And then later on in the afternoon is the earth time. You can think about in the ancient times, the lunch was the big meal of the day. And so in the afternoon, when you're digesting your big meal and you're not as active because your body is so busy digesting, that's more of your earth time. And then the evening time is the metal time. So fire, midday, peak activity, lots of sun, lots of light. We have it in our language. People who are fire dominant or see the world more with the fire are sunny people. We say sunny disposition. It's positive people, active people, people who are generally, when I was making the comparison of fires are attracted to me, it really probably is more I'm attracted to fires because fires are bright and sunny and warm and popular people. They're fun. You feel good when you're hanging out with a balanced fire person. They're very charismatic. And leaders, natural leaders, like you can think of lions, maybe, lion, sun, August is fire element is, you want to follow these people around. You want to be in their orbit because they make you feel good. Their out of balance emotion is anxiety. They can feel very anxious, and we'll talk about some of the reasons why that is for them. But they balance that out with inspiration and joy. And it sounds sometimes, I think fear and courage. You're like, yeah, I can get that courage is how you pull yourself out of fear by drawing in your courage. But anxiety, joy, and the way I like to think about it, Lauren, I'll use a skiing analogy because I used to ski. My partner skis a lot. I've hung my skis up permanently, but I absolutely remember going up the ski lift to the color, the blue, the black, whatever, that's like a little bit of a push to my boundaries of my skill set, but thinking it's a good idea. And then getting there and the tips of my skis, at the top of the run, and I'm looking down the run, and it's anxiety. I mean, just pure, my body flooded with anxiety. Like, I can't do it. I can't do it. How do I get down? Is there any other route I can take? Am I going to take off my skis and walk? I just can't do it. And then doing it, tipping the skis down and getting it done, and just that flood of like, wow, I did it. And that flood of joy and happiness that anxiety was transmuted into. And so that's the way I like to think about the relationship between anxiety and like inspiration and joy. But I'll pause here and ask Lauren to elaborate, because the emotions are a big part of what we work with in energy medicine yoga under the metaphor of the 5 elements.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that you, of course, I love that you did a skiing metaphor, but I want to dig into that a little, and I want to ask you, to what do you think the difference is? So at the top of that run could very easily be fear and courage. You're looking down the run and you're terrified. That's fear. And you do it anyway. And that was really courageous. So can you talk a little bit about the difference between fear and courage at the top of that run versus anxiety and inspiration or joy at the top of that run?
Yeah, that's a good question. So let me think about this. When I'm thinking about, I guess when I'm skiing, I'm in the realm of play. I'm in the realm of doing something fun to begin with. And I put myself there, right? Like, I'm the one who chose to get on that ski lift. And I'm the one who chose the hard run that was pushing the boundaries of my capabilities, because I was choosing just this very kind of playful, it's my day off, I'm doing something fun, I want to get better, versus like the fear that we have of, we don't necessarily choose. These like kind of the deeper, like water's deep water, and like the deep, the dark, the black is the color of water. And so it's like the normal day-to-day life, the human experience kind of fear versus I'm pushing my boundaries intentionally kind of anxiety that I get. I get it before a race. I sign up for, running races, triathlons, that sort of thing. I paid my money for that. I put it on my calendar. I worked hard to get to that start line. And then I'm just so anxious about like what's going to happen after that starting gun goes off to begin. What do you think?
Yeah, I like that when you pulled it back to the choice and then the race as well. I feel like anxiety is this sort of diffuse bubbling up of emotion that you can't really pinpoint exactly what it is. So like you're at the top of the run, you obviously have the skills to be there at the first place, because even if you're pushing your envelope a little bit, maybe you're on a blue but you're only a green skier, or you're on a black but you're only a blue skier, but you're pushing your envelope a little bit, but you're there, right? And like you said, you chose to be there. You chose to be in the race. And yet there's this kind of diffuse fear. It is a bit of that fear that is hard to pinpoint to exactly what. Like, you could say, oh, okay, could fall and break my leg, but it's not usually that clear of what it is that you're anxious about. It's just this feeling of something is off, something is wrong, I might be in trouble, but I don't really know, something bad could happen. And it starts this whole cascade of stress chemicals through the body that is governed by the fire element in the first place. So all of those stress chemicals are starting to cascade. The hands are getting sweaty, your pupils are dilating, like all of those things are happening. Your whole body gets sweaty, like everything is happening. And the inspiration is that can sort of be pulled down. It's sort of the both. I know this is going to be joyful. And the inspiration is also, like you said, you're here to play. And your body can take over and do what it knows how to do. And the inspiration is almost to allow what the body knows how to do it. And then the joy comes. And you're skiing down the run, and you can do it because obviously you can do it. Like, you train to do it. You know how to ski. You can do it. So I think, that anxiety piece, the metaphor that I use a lot with fire, and we both live in the West, so this is really applicable to us. Unfortunately, it's becoming more and more applicable no matter where you live, but we have actually a season of wildfires, and that season is getting longer and longer. And that wildfire anxiety, is a fire going to start? Is that lightning strike going to start a fire? Is it going to spread? Can they put it out? Is it going to come to the town? Like, all of these things, which are solid things to be afraid about, but also really these diffuse fears that's swirling around, swirling around, swirling around. And just like a fire that is burning out of control, it's just kind of going everywhere, covering the landscape with this destructive force. And, we can get into all these other metaphors of fire, because fire is a very powerful force as well. And we know historically that fire was used to clear landscapes, to regenerate landscapes. And because of the political movements at least in the United States, we've suppressed fire. We have chosen not to allow fires to clean out the understory and all of that. And now the wildfires are becoming incredibly massive. And so there's like so many metaphors in there. Suppressing the natural activity of anything, nature, but emotions or any of it, right, is only going to cause it to go down for a little while, and then it's going to come back bigger and bigger and bigger, because it never got to express itself in the first place. And so that idea of burning out of control and just taking over everything is a big metaphor for fire out of balance, and the anxiety, that feeling that comes along with this is uncontrollable, uncontainable. I don't know how it started. I don't know how to end it. Like, those are the things that I feel when I'm thinking about anxiety. I don't really know where it came from. Was it a lightning strike? Was it an internal thing? Like, did someone drop a match? Was it a trailer that shot a spark? Like, I'm using all of these as actual things, but also as metaphors. Like, where did that feeling come from? And now it's everywhere. It's all encompassing. And how do I create the boundary around it, right? If you're fighting fires, what you do is you dig a trench around the fire. And then there's many things you can do. You can pour water on the fire, right? So that is the water element that controls the fire. You can backfire, so you burn things that are going up to the fire so that the fire can't spread any further. So it's almost like you're creating more of something so that you can then control it. And of course, the ideal is, fire is the most transformative element. It can take a piece of paper and turn it into something that you can't even recognize in like a second. And it is also so growth oriented, like the hearth in the home, the candle on the altar, like these things that we humans evolved the way we have because of fire, because we had ability now to be warm in colder climates, to cook food so that we could get more nutrients out of them. And so fire is what really created modern humanity. So I think I just went in a lot of different directions on fire, but that's also fire, right? It's everywhere. It's bubbling up. It's all over the place. Bubbling isn't the right metaphor, but then you see also all the interconnections between all of the elements. So okay, I might stop there. I hope I didn't derail us on that one too much.
No, I think it's great because it does explain. All of this came from study of nature. And so why did they choose fire? Why did they choose the term fire to categorize, for lack of a better word, this energy that in this, it's the heart. So that the element of fire is about the heart, and water, which we've talked about, had the two meridians of kidney and bladder. and wood was liver and gallbladder. And fire has 4 meridians. It's the only of the 5 elements that has 4 meridians instead of 2 that are associated with the energy. And one of them is heart. And another one is heart protector, is called in some traditions. In our tradition, we call it circulation sex, sex, circulation sex. So you can think about romantic love. In other traditions, it's called pericardium, which is kind of the medical term of the actual lining of the heart, the sac, the protector of the heart. So there's the heart, the organ. There's the, I guess, pseudo organ, heart protector, lining of the heart. There's the small intestine, and there's what Lauren mentioned, the we call it triple warmer in our tradition. There's, different traditions call it different things. You might hear it called triple heater or triple burner, but it is a big energy system unto itself. And our Donna actually considers it a meridian and an energy system, this particular one, because it does so many things, but it controls the autonomic nervous system. So it controls the, as Lauren said, stress response, the sympathetic nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, stress, all of that is governed by this. So those are the 4. So it's quite complex what is happening. But when we're talking about people whose primary element is fire, or, maybe they're secondary, or there's someone who has a lot of fire in their energetic constitution, they are the big heart people. That's one of the things that makes them so lovable and easy to love, and they love everybody else so much. They're the, the person at the party, like the party starts when they show up, and and they're the last one, first one in, last one out. Like they're holding the party together. They're the one who everyone's asking, like, are they going to come at the party? Are they going to be there? Are they here yet? And they're very charismatic, but they're also very vulnerable. And sometimes that is where that charisma and that, for lack of a better word, kind of like domineering, or, like kind of just sitting at the foot of the table and controlling what's happening, is because if they get quiet and somebody else starts asking them about a bunch of questions, they might have to show some vulnerability, or they might feel vulnerable. And so they can protect themselves from vulnerability by always kind of being in control and being in charge and running the show with everybody. And so they are both at the same time very heart forward, but they're also very protecting of their own heart as well. But they are definitely known for friendship and love. And these are the people who make lifelong friendships. And it's one of the reasons why I'm so fascinated with fires. I have a lot in my life, like I said. And as someone who is not as strong in fire, I'm just more of a lone wolf. I am not the one who is best friends with my college roommate and still talk to her every week, or my grade school friends, or any of that. I'm very I have my circle of friends right now, and they're probably not the same circle of friends I had 15 years ago. It's easy for me to let go. That's kind of more in my element. I can let go and move on to other things, where that's not the fire. The fire, they have these lifelong deep friendships, and they're staying connected to everybody. One of my closest friends is a fire, and she just had we both had, for the same age, this milestone birthday. But she and I have only been friends for about 7 years. But for her big milestone birthday, she went on so many trips, and the grade school friends and the high school friends and the college friends, and and she's so connected with everyone. And it's I want that in my life. It's just, and it's a thing back to why we even care about the elements. I've never really understood about myself, why I'm not the person who just naturally and easily does that. But now, because we haven't talked about my primary element yet, but it is the nature of who I am that I don't do that. And it is the nature of who my friend is that she does do that. And her anxiety is a real thing. She does have a lot of anxiety, and she may listen to this, so she's probably going to recognize herself, even though I do have a few fire friends. But this will be the tell. She used to work for me at my yoga studio. She was a yoga teacher. She took yoga teacher training with me. She is also an energy medicine yoga teacher. She did that training with me as well. And fire people are not the most grounded people, because you can kind of think of fire and spreading and, moving around. They're not rooted and grounded and staying in one place, and that's not them. So one of the attributes that fire people can have is kind of forgetting things. They're the ones who are leaving their phone everywhere, or like, where's the car keys, or that, just because they're very more flitty, and have a lot going on in their head and have anxiety. And so this particular friend of mine, they could let themselves in the yoga studio. We had a lockbox with a key, and you could let yourself in the yoga studio. And then there was a combination to open the cash drawer. And then and then when you go home, you like balance the cash drawer and lock the cash drawer. And she's the one where like the cash drawer would be left open and the back door's left unlocked, like whatever, because she is like on to the next thing. And the other thing is, as much as I am so tied up about time and like every single minute, and I'm never late, and I mean, I'm the person who I'm like, oh, like I don't have time to squeeze another appointment between this time and that time because like I could be late. She's like, oh my God, I could have 5 appointments in that amount of time. and just get it done. And so fire people, they're very like, they're can do, but in a different way than wood, just in this kind of free spirit. Why not? Why can't I? No problem sort of thing. And so Lauren, I'll pause there. What do you want to add?
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. It's they're the yes people. Yes, 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 yes.
Mm-hmm.
And they're fun and exciting to be around. They are really the fire starter, the party starter, all of that. But then also there's there's the flip side of all of these things. And, there's the lifelong friendships, and then the flip side is the bridge burning, right? Where it's like, I am done with that, never going to look back again, never want to see that person or that situation or that town or whatever it is again. That's also a very fiery thing to do. I'm just on to the next thing and leave that behind. Being full of passion, of course, Blaine talked about it. It's the heart and the heart protector. And so it's passionate, and flip side again. So like we can have too much or too little. And so we can lose our passion, right? And that can cause a lot of more than discomfort, for somebody, especially for a fire. And I don't know how complicated we want to get here with the interrelationship between all the elements, but they all do, as we said, they all connect and interconnect to each other. Maybe in one of the show notes, or we should put a visual of the star so that you can see all the little connections, because we keep talking about, well, this connects with that one, and water and fire are connected. And water, obviously, not metaphorically, but obviously can put out fire. And so if your fire is out, then you can be prone to depression, the things that kind of are the hallmark of the water element. And I actually write about this in one of my books. We talk about fire like this, and the wildfire burning out of control, and we can all see that, and the fire in the hearth and all of that. But really, the truth, in my experience with most people, and personally as well, I've never fought fires. I have a lot of friends who have fought fires, but I've never fought fires. But I have fought to build a fire. I have spent a really, 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 really long time trying to get a fire started, whether it's outside, I'm camping, or I'm in my house. And full disclosure, before my husband came into my life, let me say, after my husband came into my life, I have not chopped a piece of wood, okay? He makes fire starter, we call them Pringles. He makes these teeny little sticks. They're like slightly bigger than a chopstick, right? And so like there's a big bucket of those. Like I cannot, easy starting to fire now at my house. But before that, I am a horrible wood chopper. And I can go out there and just battle a piece of wood with an axe forever and like not come up with much at all. And so I would really struggle to get a fire started. And a lot of people have that. What is it that I want to do? What am I passionate about? Am I passionate about anything? And that can be also the hallmark of a fire element out of balance. It's like, I've lost my passion. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to find my fire again. And we see that in life cycles all the time. You know, people talk about a midlife, I'm going to use the word opportunity, right? It's like you've lived so much of your life and whatever, whether you've ticked the boxes or you've lived outside the box, you get to this point where you're like, is that it? Like there's a lot of that questioning that happens sort of at crux points in our lives. Is that it? No matter what height you might have achieved, because we hear that from, you know, people that have reached the height of whatever their careers are, actors or athletes or musicians, and what they need to go back to, and what we all need to go back to is what sparked you initially. Where did the passion start so that you can find that passion again and come into the fullness of fire? Because again, we're talking about harvesting the gifts of each element. And the gift of the fire is that passionate love. And I don't mean the passionate love for a lover, although it does encompass that as well. But it's that passionate love for just being incarnated, for being on this planet. It's like I think of poetry. I think of, you know, some of the epic poems that are about just, you know, Song of Myself is coming to mind. That is a fire element poem. It's just like, I love everyone. I'm a part of everyone and everyone is a part of me. And that really is the gift of the fire element. And if you are lacking fire or you're burning out of control, mania. If anyone has anyone in their life that has manic or bipolar or, you know, any of those spectrums in their life, you know that fire over too much fire is exhausting for the person and for everybody around them. That is that sort of burning out of controlness. So there's a lot there, but I want to come back to one thing. Blaine talked about that there are 4 meridians associated with fire, and we might talk about why, but I think if we do, we'll talk about it in the earth element, because earth sort of gave up some of its mojo at one point, and fire grabbed it, because that's what fire does. It's like, whoo, more fun, whoosh, I'm going to grab onto it. And so fire did. It's not exactly how it happened, but I kind of like that. I like that little story of how it happened. But so Blaine, you know, you talked about the heart and the heart protector, and I love the way you talked about that, and we're going to get more into that as well. We talked a little bit about triple warmer, that fight, flight, freeze response, which is in this element, right? So that's a whole other story. But the fourth one, I want to talk about the fourth one, which is small intestine. And it kind of often gets short shrift because, like, heart is so exciting and so juicy to talk about. And even triple warmer, it's like got so many things going on with it. It's like your habit field and your literally your health and keeping you alive. Like, there's a lot going on with triple warmer. And then small intestine, you're like, what? That's part of my intestines. It's digestive. Like, what does that have to do with this big, wild, juicy, expansive, joyful, inspiring thing? Element, situation. And then we go to small intestine and we're like, what is small intestine doing in this little 4-pack? So Blaine, you want to jump in and share a little bit about what is small intestine doing in this 4-pack?
Sure. So, small intestine, and I agree with everything you just said. It's like, who wants to talk about small intestine? But it is energetically, small intestine, and I guess physically too, is responsible for discernment. And so if you think about your meal and some of it might have been more healthy, some of it might have been not healthy. It might have been a Snickers bar. It might have been a, salad with 30 vegetables in it. Either way, an energy system has to go through, and an organ, small intestine, is like, this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad, this goes here, right? And so it discerns what is good and usable and is going to become fuel for the body, and what is waste and is going to exit the body. And from an energetic perspective, who decides that for our heart? Who decides who discerns, what energy discerns? This person is good for me. This person is bad for me. This situation is good for me. This situation is bad for me. This house, this job, this car, this anything that you're letting in to your life and your heart space, and it's going to affect your mood and your happiness or your sadness or whatever. So it's really important in this realm of heart and heart protector, discerning what is good and what is right for your heart. And the heart it's the life pump of all things. When the heart stops beating, that is it. And so one of the things that balanced fires are good at in their life is keeping things simple, because they know that they can get overwhelmed, they can get anxious, right? And so a way that they can bring all of that in is to keep things simple, keep things straightforward. And so they use this discernment to know, what do I really need? What do I not need? Who can get really close? Who can be arm's length, right? Who am I going to let go of? Like Lauren says. And I'll stop there, Lauren. Was there anything else you wanted to say about discernment?
No, I really love that. I think, everything you said is spot on. It's really an important part of this element and of our lives. And I feel like in the yogic path that I've, learned about that discernment, which is different from judgment, right? That discernment is, does this, in our tradition, we do energy testing, and we tune in to the intuition in all these different ways. And one of the questions that we're always asking is, does this make me stronger or does this make me weaker? So it's not good, bad. And it's not that judgment, good, bad. It's, does this make me stronger or does this make me weaker? And I'll give you an example, and I don't think she'll mind me telling this because she tells this story and lots of people tell it about her. But Donna, she energy tests all the time, and she's had a lifetime of allergies to different foods. Actually, let me start by saying Donna is a primary fire element. And if you've met her, then you have an idea of what a fire element is like. She's expansive and bubbly and loving and joyful, and she lights the room up when she walks in. Everyone gets it, you can feel it. It's electric. It's fire energy, and she brings that to her, to everywhere she goes. And allergies is something that plagued her, and that's a triple warmer thing, which is in the heart element or the fire element. So it makes sense that she had a lot of allergies. And so there were things that we would say that is a good food, like broccoli. Whether you like broccoli or not, broccoli always gets like made into the jokes. I don't know if you watch Inside Out. There's a whole thing about pizza with broccoli. It's wrong, right? So broccoli always is like the brunt of jokes. But so let's just say a carrot. Maybe we'll leave broccoli alone. A carrot, you could say, is just objectively that is a good food. But Donna would not test good for broccoli or a carrot. And there were times where she would test good. I'm not even kidding you. A hot fudge sundae. That's the only thing that she would test strong for. Or she stayed with a friend. We've mentioned Susan Stone before. She stayed at Susan's house. Susan is a huge cook. If you stay at Susan's house, she is making you a feast for dinner, and she's making you a feast for breakfast, and whatever it is you want. Gluten-free, vegan, omnivore. She's got it all. She'll take care of whatever needs. It will be amazing, and it will be a huge spread. And so Donna stayed over one time, and what would you like? Waffles or eggs Benedict or, all of these things. And everything was testing. No, 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 no. And Donna opened up the cabinet, and she's like, oh, can I eat that bag of potato chips? And Susan was like, what? It's breakfast time? And that's what Donna tested strongly for. So I say all that to say that you need to let go of your dogma about everything to really come into the truth, the wisdom of the body, the wisdom of this discerning energy of the body. This, yes, not that. Yes, this, not that. And that's food, that's people, that's circumstances. That's that, if you've ever had that intuition of like, don't do that. That's your small intestine information coming up for you and saying, this, not that, this, not that. So, yeah, discernment, really important.
Discernment. I know it's so juicy. Small intestine is juicy, people. We're just here to tell you. We don't make the rules. We just share the rules. I want to dive into a couple of more things about fire people. So I think we get it. Fire people are people. And so when fires are in their anxiety or have things happen in their lives, they want to talk to somebody. They're not like, I'm just going to, and I'll get into meditation because meditation is really important for fires. It's one of the best ways that fires can kind of ground and get into their discernment powers. Because when they're ungrounded and kind of a little more in that wildfire, they are not really accessing their discernment as well. And so one of the ways that they can do that is with meditation. But fires, when they're under stress, when they're under anxiety, when they're problem solving, they don't go off in a room by themselves and sort out their problems. They want to talk to people. That's their first thing. They want to talk it out. I'm friends with fires. I am the recipient of the opportunity to talk to people, but it's not just like one person. It's like calling 10 people because they're friends with everybody from all spans of their life. And so, I need to make a big decision. I'm going to call this person and talk to him about it. I'm going to call this person and talk to him about it. And I'm going to call this person and talk to him about it. And that's really how they kind of sort through and really get information for their discernment, right? They reach out and get, most of my fire friends are in therapy. They'll talk to their therapist. They'll talk to me. They'll talk to their spouse. They'll talk to another friend. And they're really trying to get as much information as they can. It can be hard for them to then kind of get it all down, right? So that's where they have to come into meditation. And it's a really great tool. Meditation's a great tool for fires. For someone who's another element, it might be easier to sit for meditation. It's not always the easiest thing for fires, but it's a great way for them to be able to take all the information that they've gathered and access their discernment. And another thing I want to talk about before we wrap up is the mysteries of the heart, just the organ of the heart, and how much science doesn't understand about these energetic properties of the heart and they understand that it pumps blood through the veins. They understand, aortas. They can do, they can do a lot with the heart. However, it's the unmeasurable, right? Yes, we have now they'll acknowledge there's an electromagnetic field, and there's things that can be measured about the heart off the body. Like we're getting to that point. However, the heart being who we are. We've said it symbolically, the hearth of the home and the family, and all that sort of thing being heart and our heart energy. But where it gets really interesting is with heart transplants. And Lauren and I both just listened to a podcast where there was a story about someone who received a heart transplant and then had this incredible food craving for something that she didn't even eat before she had the heart transplant. And there's a lot of stories around food and heart transplants, and people do all of a sudden, they're like craving food and like wanting these things they've never eaten in their life, or even were maybe allergic to before the heart transplant, but other things too, about like who they are and their personalities and their dreams and their memories. And all of these things come with a heart transplant that science cannot understand. And it's really a wonderful thing in, just thinking about our energy and this element that as much as science is like the small intestine does this and the heart does this and the gallbladder does this, that the saints and the sages from centuries and centuries ago have looked at these organs as being so much more than that. And of all of them, I think the most, I don't even know what the word is, like the most interesting, the most powerful is probably the heart, right, Lauren?
I agree. I've heard so many transplant stories that are just mind blowing. One actually where a heart transplant was able to find the murderer of the person whose heart they received by because they had received the heart and they knew. So we might do a series of podcasts. There's just so much going on in the world that science can't account for, and so that science discounts or refuses to count at all. One of my favorite scientists and friends, Rupert Sheldrake, I've talked about him so much. He's been a huge influence on my course of study, and he looks at these phenomena as well, things, people able to communicate across time and space and things like that that are actually natural and make sense, and most people have experienced them. They're more normal than they are, quote, paranormal. But because there is no mechanism of understanding how those things happen, Western science says they don't happen, and it's left a kind of a big void. Instead of, imagine if they had put all of the money that they put into so many other things. Like, do we need another study that says sugar's not good for you? I mean, millions of dollars go into those studies, right? If they'd put some money into understanding how the human body, mind, soul, energy actually works, would be phenomenal. So the heart is really, it's the seat of the soul is what it's often referred to. And in yogic tradition, the cave of the heart is like the innermost innerness of you is what resides in the heart. So there's that. I want to circle back to one thing though you were talking about with the fire people that are asking for advice, and for all these different people. There's a piece of that, of the fire element not fully trusting themselves. And so they're going out to find the information from everybody else. And Blaine, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see, but if you're listening, Blaine keeps doing this movement with her hands. She's sort of, her hands are wide, and then she's bringing her hands together, sort of showing this idea that the fire element people need to bring that expansiveness when it is anxiety. We don't want to diminish our expansiveness when it's this joyful inspiration, but when it is that anxiety that is sort of eating us up, we do want to bring it in. And actually the movements that we do to do that, to kind of counter the anxiety, is literally about bringing the energy right into the center core of the body, right down the Sushumna channel of the body, right through the chakra center of the body. The Taurus field, the Taji pole, however you language it, whatever tradition, the way to bring that anxiety down, to calm down that feeling so that you can come back into the cave of the heart, into that trusting of yourself. That is the inspiration, that you have that wisdom and that knowledge and that deep power within you. And that's kind of like the red hot tip of the fire, instead of all of the flames, right? The deepest, the hottest part of the fire is at the very core. And so that's kind of one of the practices, I would say, of a fire element, is to bring that excessiveness into the core, so that you are laser focused. And then the inspiration that you have, you can bring it out into the world instead of it just burning out. You keep the flame lit at all times. And again, that goes back to that triple warmer or triple heater. It's these internal flames. It's like the pilot light inside you that they are ready to turn on when you need to turn on the stove, right? And their pilots are already lit. And the balanced fire has the pilot lights lit. And we'll just see what Donna has to say about the balanced fire. Include a heart and mind in balance with one another, igniting belief in others, being true to yourself, discerning, protecting, and cherishing. So there's some of your balanced fire. And should we go into the exercises and the holds for fire? Do you
Sure.
want to do these,
them, or do you want
Blaine?
me to? I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it. So we have a breath and we have a neurovascular hold for the head that we're doing for each of these elements. So fire, the sound spelled would be HAAA. So if you want to say it vocally, it's ha. And if you want to do it aspirally, just with your aspiration, your breath is so ha or so you can try a few breaths together. We'll do them together. Your choice, either the breathy way or the vocal way. And then our head hold, we always are covering our foreheads somehow. So you can take one hand and just kind of like fold it over your forehead. And then the other hand, if you can imagine your eyeballs and you just draw a straight line back to the back of the head. So you're cupping the back of your head behind your eyeballs. Yeah, it looks like this if you can see us. And let's do the breath 3 more times while we're doing the hold. So balancing. I feel so released and balanced. And I say released because it is, with fire, we can get this buildup, a little bit, this buildup of energetic heat. And that particular breath, we're really releasing that out of the body. We're giving it a valve, a way for it to come out. So Lauren, you want to wrap it up for us and we'll close our fire chat.
Fireside fire chat. Yeah. As you were saying that about the releasing of the heat of the body, I thought, I wonder if we're going to need to do a 2.0 on each of these elements too, because there's so much to say about all of them. And we're just sort of scratching the surface. But the hope is that you're getting little hits of inspiration, little sparks, since we're in fire, little sparks that are helping you to recognize parts of yourself. Because remember, you have all of these elements in you. And the ones that you feel that you have less of are often the ones that you will have more life lessons in or more need to work with because you're not as familiar with them. And so in order to harvest the gifts, you need to work a little bit harder in that particular element. We didn't really talk about the physical I know we talked about the heart and pericardium, but the heart, the fire element and the summer season governs the blood vessels. And so when you think of anything with blood vessels, varicose veins or heart attacks, that's the first one that kind of pops into mind. Those things are fire element issues, and then of course anything to do with any of those four meridians that we talked about. So there's so much, and I hope that you find it exciting. You know, one of the things that we talk about, this compassion piece, and when I learned about fire, I really had a big aha moment because I have somebody in my life that is a fire out of balance. And I've always really struggled with this person because they're so intense, and here's the flip side, like they suck all the energy out of the room and it's all about them. And it's, if you know any narcissists in your life, like they can be fire elements in an imbalanced, I think it's M when it's not, right? Imbalanced way. And when I learned about this, I had so much compassion for this person because I thought, oh, they're not trying to annoy me. That's not, they get up in their day and they're like, I'm going to go annoy as many people as I can, right? That's not it. They're just being who they are. And when you start to recognize that, then you really can extend your compassion to them. And I know we've talked about that a few times, but for me, it really clicked in when I started to understand more about the fire element. So I hope that you're starting to cotton to our lingo here. We definitely have a way of talking internally at Energy Medicine Yoga, and here on Energy Works, we use this all the time. And I've checked into other systems. I mean, I certainly know a teeny bit about astrology, just enough to be dangerous and annoying. And I know a little bit about the Enneagram and, all of what is the generator? What is that? That's another system. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
I don't know the generator. I know Myers-Briggs.
There's Myers-Briggs. There's this one. It's that you're a manifesting generator anyway, do you know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah. What is that? I am a Manny Jen.
You're so
in that one.
You know what I'm talking about. Is it life system or life? It's something like that. Anyway, there's
those people are gonna kill us.
I know. Somebody's dropped.
That is a big one. The one that will not be named today.
One that will not be named. I can almost see it in my head. Somebody please drop in the comments what that system is. And so there's all these systems, and they all have a lot of value. And I use all these other divination tools, tarot and runes, and I love all of that stuff. And yet, nothing has helped transform and heal and further my life's journey and path than understanding and working with the five elements. By far, hands down, not even a close second. Nothing has given me as many tools to identify and then work with things that come up, body, mind, spirit, energy, and nothing has been as valuable. Hands down, there is not even a close second. So I hope that some of you listening are starting to get some glimpses of how this could also be that tool for you. And then you can be, a 4 with a wing 5 and, a Sagittarius with a Libra rising and a moon in Gemini and all of those things. And that gives you information about yourself. And you'll always come back to the five elements and be, I'm a this, and this is why I'm doing that, and I need some of this, and that person's a that. And it's not so much of so that you can make everything smaller and minimize it and dissect it. It's actually so that you can expand everything and connect everything. And that's really, I think, one of the goals here on the planet this is very fiery, to be as expansive and as connective as we can be, full of passionate love and adoration. So I hope that you all have felt that too. If you have, drop us a note. If there's anything that you want to know more of or learn more about, put us a note in the comments. We read them all. We love them all. We love hearing from you. We love hearing how this lands. And if it doesn't land, we want to hear that too, because that will really help us. We really love constructive criticism. Don't be mean. We definitely don't want mean, but we really, really do want to hear how you're doing. So drop us a note and tune in next time as we talk about the earth element. That's a really fun and exciting one, and as they all are. Each one, when we come to it, is the best one. Sort of like that book, The Best Dog. Each dog is the best dog, and that's the best one. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Blaine, for all of those beautiful explanations, and we'll see you all next time.